currently at $1.76 a share. And Yahoo analysts estimate that it can move up to $10 a share in the next 12 months. If it does, that will be a 468.18% increase. Hey guys, we crossed over the new year, and this week we're covering December 30th through January 3rd winning stocks. But before we jump into this, you know I like to look at the SPY or the S&P 500, the Dow and the Nasdaq, because those three show us how the week moved overall. Those three represent most of the stocks in the market. And as we look at the S&P 500, we see that it's been moving up. Well, I shouldn't say this year, through 2024. It reached a high, but then a few weeks ago, it had a negative week. Then we had a bit of a negative week. It moved down a little bit. It hasn't really moved up since that time, but at least the week started out down and they moved up. If we go over to the Dow, we pretty much see the same thing. Actually, we see a 3-week drop with this, and then 2 sort of side-to-side weeks, but positive, but still, it's not moving up just yet. And when we look at the Nasdaq, we see a negative week. We see it move down, and then a couple of side-to-side weeks. Took a little move back, but moved up by the end of the week. So now, having seen that, we want to jump into the stocks on our fundamentally sound watch list of stocks moving up from their annual low price. But before we jump into that, I just want to jump over here to our our app StockSage. StockSage is the app that we use to find all of these fundamentally sound stocks moving up from their annual low price. What the app does is it searches through the entire 52-week low every day and pulls up all the stocks that are fundamentally sound. They meet our criteria, but they're at their annual low price at that time. And we see it's only a few here this day. It was a large number last week, but those have started moving up. But we have a new name down here. We're noticing Adobe is popping up. In any event, this app catches all these stocks for us. We can choose which criteria we want them to meet. We can also choose high dividends, things like that. And when we want to see the information on the stock and see how fundamentally sound the stock is, we can click on the ticker symbol. It'll actually show us what that stock does, and it'll show us a bunch of information about the stock. And there will also be a new tutorial put up about next week concerning how to interpret all of this information. In any event, let's jump over and take a look at the stocks on our watch list this week. And we're starting off with Papa John's, and some of you may be familiar with this, Papa John's Pizza. Now, this stock, we see that they had a positive week here, but slightly positive. Then the next week, it took a little bit of a jump up. We want to see what it does going into this next week. Now, we want to see if it takes a further jump up. This stock is currently at $43.09 a share. Yahoo analysts estimate it can move up to $60.73 in the next 12 months. If it does, that will be a 40.93% increase. Now, this stock has an earnings date dropping on February 26th or later that week, and we know that the earnings date is sort of like a report card for businesses. It lets us know how well or how bad that company has done over the last quarter, and that earnings date can dramatically make the price jump up or go down. So we want to be careful about jumping into earnings dates too close before we buy a stock. Maybe we're buying a stock and within the next week an earnings date is coming out, because getting that stock, it can work like going to a casino. It may work out very well for you, and it may not go in your favor. In any event, this stock has a 4.27% dividend yield, which I wouldn't say is great, but it's decent. A lot of stocks don't even have a dividend yield of more than 1%, so I would say 4.27 is decent, but as we will see further in this video, you can do better. Next, we have WTI, or W&T Offshore, good old American oil. Now, this is a very inexpensive stock, currently at $1.76 a share. And Yahoo analysts estimate that it can move up to $10 a share in the next 12 months. If it does, that will be a 468.18% increase. Now, this stock has an earnings report dropping on March 3rd or later that week, and it has a dividend yield of 2.27%. We next have Diana Shipping. Diana Shipping is currently at $1.95 a share, and Yahoo analysts estimate that it can move up to $4 in the next 12 months. If it does, that will be a 105.12% increase. They have an earnings date dropping on February 21st or later that week, and this stock has a dividend yield of 17.52%. You want to check out the fundamentals. You want to check out the dividend in the app we have, where it shows you the total amount of dividends paid out and the money after the dividend was subtracted from the free cash flow, to see if that company can afford to pay it. But with all of that taken into consideration, 17.52% is a pretty decent dividend yield. Next, we have GHI, Greystone Housing Impact. Greystone Housing Impact is sort of moving in a sideways pattern right now. We want to see when they start to break out. But this is a $10.96 stock. Yahoo analysts estimate it can move up to $16.75 in the next 12 months. If it does, that will be a 52.82% increase. And this stock has an earnings date dropping on February 20th or later that week, and it's currently paying a 13.50% dividend yield. Next, we have Sirius Resources. Sirius Resources is currently $47.99 a share. Yahoo analysts estimate it can move up to $72.40 in the next 12 months. If it does, that will be a 50.86% increase. This stock has an earnings date dropping on February 25th or later that week, and it has a 10.36% dividend yield. We have Inest Corporation. Inest Corporation, and we see it's moved up the last couple of weeks. It's currently at $9.40 a share. Yahoo analysts estimate it can move up to $11.50. If it does, that's a 22.34% increase. We have ADIA Healthcare. ADIA Healthcare is currently at $44.32. Yahoo analysts estimate it can move up to $60.67 in the next 12 months. If it does, that would be a 36.89% increase. And we see it had a pretty decent week this last week. We want to see what it does going into the next week. We have Total Energies SE. Total Energies SE is at $55.48 a share. Yahoo analysts estimate it can move up to $74.36 in the next 12 months. If it does, that will be a 34.03% increase. And notice it moved up the last 2 weeks, although only slightly. They have an earnings day dropping on February 5th or later. Well, actually, it's on February 5th. And they have a 5.99% dividend yield. We have ConocoPhillips. They are currently at $101.09 a share. Yahoo analysts estimate they can move up to $132.47 in the next 12 months. And if they do, that would be a 31.04% increase. Notice the last couple of weeks have been positive, and the last week was a bigger move than the previous week. They have an earnings report dropping on February 6th or later that week, and they're currently paying a 3.09% dividend yield. We have PSX, or Phillips 66. They are currently at $116.09 a share. Yahoo analysts estimate they can move up to $140.87 in the next 12 months. If they do, that will be a 21.34% increase. Now, their last couple of weeks was positive only slightly as well. They currently have an earnings date dropping on the 31st of this month, January 31st. And they currently pay a 3.96% dividend yield. We have Petróleo Brasileira, PBR. Let's say PBR. Now, PBR, they're currently at $13.02 a share. Yahoo analysts estimate they can move up to $16.74 in the next 12 months. If they do, that would be a 28.57% increase. Now, they currently have an earnings date dropping on February 26th, and this stock pays an incredible 21.74% dividend yield. And lastly, we have American Eagle Outfitters. They're currently at $17.18. Yahoo analysts estimate they can move up to $21.30 in the next 12 months. If they do, that will be a 23.98% increase. They have an earnings date dropping on March 5th or later that week, and this stock pays a 2.43% dividend yield. So that's it for our this week's winning stocks, guys. I look forward to speaking to you in the next video. Have a great week.